Ever wondered whether you'll build more muscle training like a bodybuilder or a CrossFitter? I've personally spent time under the bar in both worlds, chasing the pump with isolated lifts and gasping for air in high-intensity sessions. In this deep dive, we're pitting hypertrophy training against CrossFit to see which approach packs on more muscle. Using two legends as examples, classic physique Mr. Olympia champion Chris Bumstead for hypertrophy and five-time fittest man on earth Matt Frazier for CrossFit. I'll share research and my own experiences with each style. Is it better to isolate muscles with precision or to unleash full body intensity? Let's break it down, from training methods and personal anecdotes to scientific insights, so you can decide which path might lead to bigger gains in muscle size. What is hypertrophy training? In simple terms, hypertrophy training is all about increasing muscle size. It's structured around training splits, often the classic bro split, where each day is devoted to one muscle group: chest day, leg day, arm day, and so on. This is exactly how Chris Bumstead trains, focusing on one major muscle group per workout and hammering it with multiple exercises and high volume until it's thoroughly exhausted. The goal is to isolate each muscle and apply enough tension and micro-trauma, tiny fiber tears, that it repairs larger and stronger. I remember limping out of the gym on leg day after hitting squats, leg presses, and extensions in a single session. My quads were on fire, but the pump told me growth was coming. Hypertrophy workouts typically use moderate weights in the 8 to 15 rep range, with slow, controlled reps and an emphasis on muscle contraction. Techniques like drop sets and supersets, both of which Bumstead uses, are common tools. I've used them too. For example, supersetting bicep curls with hammer curls left my arms ballooning with blood. It's all about time under tension and isolation, forcing one muscle to do the work without help from the others. This is why bodybuilders rely not just on compound lifts, but also plenty of single joint movements like curls, extensions, and lateral raises. Personally, isolation training helped me build a strong mind-muscle connection, which let me target weak points like my lagging shoulders with precision. Bumstead's approach is also high volume. A typical week might include back on day 1, chest on day 2, legs on day 3, shoulders on day 4, and arms on day 5. Each session loaded with both compounds and isolation exercises, totaling dozens of sets. He often trains to failure and uses advanced methods like forced reps, supersets, and isometric holds to keep intensity high. I tried adopting these myself, and the soreness afterward was incredibly specific, like just my chest or just my biceps, which confirmed those muscle fibers were truly being pushed. Over time, I saw real size and shape improvements, especially in areas I gave extra attention. Training for hypertrophy feels laser-focused. The pump is real. You'll feel it in the exact muscle you're targeting, and it's deeply satisfying if your goal is aesthetics. During my bodybuilding style phases, my shirts got tighter around the arms and chest as those muscles grew. Research backs this up. Bodybuilding methods are some of the most effective for adding lean mass. One study found that steady weightlifting increased muscle size over 15 weeks, while CrossFit training led to weight loss instead, something I'll touch on later. After months of strict hypertrophy training, I not only looked more muscular, but noticed specific muscles pop more. My shoulders capped out and my back thickened. The trade-off? I wasn't exactly built for long-distance running. My cardio took a back seat. In summary, hypertrophy training, as exemplified by Chris Bumstead, is about isolating muscles, piling on volume, and training each body part to exhaustion. When paired with progressive overload and proper recovery, it will absolutely build serious muscle mass. But how does that compare to the intensity-driven, full-body chaos of CrossFit? Let's switch gears. What is CrossFit? CrossFit is best described as high-intensity functional fitness. Instead of isolating one muscle at a time like in traditional bodybuilding, CrossFit workouts combine full-body movements. Think Olympic lifts, gymnastics, sprinting, rowing, burpees, often strung together into circuits under time pressure. The aim is broad, well-rounded fitness, strength, endurance, power, agility, and stamina all at once. No athlete embodied this better than Matt Frazier, one of the sport's most dominant figures. His training mixed heavy barbell lifts like back squats and deadlifts with brutal metcons, metabolic conditioning circuits, skill work like handstand walks or rowing intervals, and constant progression. CrossFit workouts are infamous for being short but intense, 10 to 20 minutes of full throttle effort. I still remember my first WOD. Thrusters and burpees for 15 minutes straight left me gasping, drenched in sweat, and wondering how I could feel so wrecked despite years of weight training. CrossFit's defining feature is its blend of intensity and variety. Unlike hypertrophy training, which isolates muscles, CrossFit uses compound, multi-joint movements that engage your whole body. A single clean and jerk works legs, back, core, and shoulders all in one explosive rep. Exercises are often performed back-to-back with minimal rest, which keeps your heart rate sky high and trains your cardiovascular system alongside your muscles. Personally, I noticed my overall work capacity shot up after doing CrossFit. I could push harder in workouts and recover faster between the sets, even in traditional lifting. That said, the burn in CrossFit feels different. Not a bicep pump, but full body fatigue and breathlessness. Matt Fraser's success came not just from going hard, but training smart. His programming was progressive, gradually increasing difficulty week by week, and balanced strength, skill, and conditioning. Inspired by that, I tried a 2-a-day routine for a while. Strength work in the morning, a Metcon at night. It worked. I leaned out, kept most of my muscle, and felt more athletic. But it was tough. I had to eat significantly more, especially carbs and protein, and prioritize sleep to avoid burnout. That's a key takeaway. CrossFit burns a lot of calories. If you don't eat enough, it's easy to fall into a deficit and unintentionally lose weight, sometimes even muscle. I learned that firsthand when I dropped a few pounds early on. Once I increased my intake, my size began to rebound, even during intense training. CrossFit also brings a unique mental element. Workouts are competitive, either against the clock or others in class. I loved hearing 3, 2, 1, go, and chasing a new PR in a WOD. Instead of counting sets and reps, I was focused on performance metrics like a faster Fran time or a heavier snatch. Over time, I noticed my physique change. My abs became visible, and my legs looked more defined from all the high-rep squats and running. However, I also lost a bit of arm size, which made sense. There's not much bicep isolation in most CrossFit workouts. That's a common trade-off. CrossFit builds athletic functional muscle, but not necessarily maximum size. Research backs this up. One study found that women doing CrossFit-style training for 15 weeks lost about 3.5 kilograms of body mass on average, while those in a traditional lifting group gained around 0.5 kilograms, likely muscle. That lines up with my experience. I got leaner and fitter during CrossFit phases, but my biggest muscle gains came during hypertrophy-focused training. CrossFit is excellent for body recomposition, burning fat, revealing muscle, improving fitness, but it's not designed to maximize muscle mass. In summary, CrossFit, as exemplified by Matt Fraser, is built around high-intensity, full-body training that improves strength, conditioning, and athleticism. It's incredibly effective for building a lean, functional physique and a resilient mindset. But if your goal is strictly to maximize muscle size, it's not as targeted or efficient as hypertrophy training. So, now that we've looked at both styles in isolation, let's put them head-to-head. Which one actually builds more muscle? Now that we've explored both styles, let's look at how hypertrophy training and CrossFit differ when it comes to building muscle. Hypertrophy is all about maximizing muscle size and symmetry through targeted overload, mechanical tension, and focused fatigue. CrossFit, by contrast, aims for well-rounded fitness, strength, endurance, speed, and skill, with muscle growth as more of a byproduct than a primary goal. I've experienced this firsthand. In bodybuilding phases, I was laser-focused on how each muscle looked and grew. In CrossFit, I cared more about how fast I could finish a WOD, or how much weight I could move under fatigue. A big difference lies in exercise selection. Hypertrophy training isolates muscles, like curls for biceps or leg extensions for quads, to fully fatigue a specific area. CrossFit uses compound movements like deadlifts, cleans, and pull-ups that work multiple muscles at once. Great for functional strength, but less precise. I've done hundreds of pull-ups in CrossFit, but my biceps never felt as pumped as they did after a focused curl session. The effort is spread out, not concentrated. CrossFit also creates serious metabolic stress with its fast pace and high reps, which can stimulate some hypertrophy, especially in slow-twitch fibers. But the burn feels different. In CrossFit, it's a full-body crash. Lungs burning, legs shaking, sweat pouring. In hypertrophy, it's a localized, controlled burn, like the deep ache in your triceps after skull crushers. Both challenge your muscles, but only one ensures a specific muscle reaches true failure, which is crucial for size gains. Volume and frequency also differ. Hypertrophy programs typically hammer one muscle group per day with 12 to 20 sets, then allow a full week of recovery. CrossFit hits muscle groups more frequently, but with lower volume each time. Maybe some squats on Monday, kettlebell swings on Tuesday. I'd often get sore in odd spots from CrossFit. Forearms, traps, glutes, but the soreness was shallow and faded fast. With bodybuilding, the soreness was deeper, longer lasting, and more focused. Nutrition plays a huge role too. CrossFit burns a lot of calories. If you're not eating enough, especially protein and carbs, you risk losing muscle. Early on, I leaned out fast, but also lost some size until I upped my calories. In contrast, hypertrophy training doesn't spike calorie burn as much, which makes it easier to stay in a surplus and pack on mass. Progress is measured differently as well. In hypertrophy, you track visual changes, muscle size, and strength on key lifts. In CrossFit, it's about performance, faster times, more reps, new PRs. After months of CrossFit, I kept most of my strength, which helped when I returned to bodybuilding, but I still had to reintroduce isolation work to rebuild certain areas like arms and calves. Injuries can happen in either style if you're not careful. CrossFit's fast pace and complex lifts under fatigue can be risky. I once tweaked my back during a high-rep deadlift WOD, but I've also strained my shoulder doing heavy pressing in a hypertrophy phase. Bottom line, both require good form, smart programming, and listening to your body. In the end, hypertrophy and CrossFit are like different tools. Hypertrophy is a sniper rifle, precise muscle-by-muscle targeting. CrossFit is a shotgun, broad, powerful, and full body. Both can build muscle, but hypertrophy is more efficient and focused if size is your main goal. Having trained extensively with both styles, I've learned to appreciate what each offers and to adjust my approach based on what I'm trying to achieve. If your main goal is to build muscle mass, is traditional hypertrophy training superior, or can CrossFit's intensity deliver equal or even better results? Based on research, expert consensus, and personal experience, the answer is clear. Hypertrophy training is more effective for maximizing muscle size. Bodybuilding programs are specifically designed for this purpose, using progressive overload, targeted rep ranges, and sufficient rest and nutrition to promote growth. CrossFit, while excellent for building strength and overall fitness, doesn't consistently stimulate muscles in the optimal hypertrophy zone. It blends strength, cardio, and skill, so muscle gain is more of a side effect than a primary objective. I've seen the difference in my own training. During a dedicated bodybuilding phase, I gained the most size. My chest, shoulders, and legs visibly grew, and my body weight increased with mostly lean mass. In contrast, during a CrossFit-focused year, I leaned out and felt incredibly fit, but my muscle size slightly declined. I still looked athletic, but I wasn't maximizing hypertrophy. That said, CrossFit can build muscle, especially for beginners. I remember early gains in my traps and forearms from Olympic lifts and high-rep squats, but progress plateaued without added strength and accessory work. If you want a visual comparison, just look at Chris Bumstead versus Matt Frazier. Chris, a Mr. Olympia champion, has a physique built through laser-focused isolation and volume, massive quads, wide lats, and sculpted arms. Matt, one of the fittest men in the world, has dense, functional muscle, particularly in his legs and back, but his physique is designed for performance, not sheer size. CrossFit athletes often avoid excessive mass to stay agile and efficient. I found the same in myself. During CrossFit phases, I was leaner and faster, but not as bulky. It's a trade-off. Intensity also looks different. In bodybuilding, intensity is about pushing one muscle to failure with slow, controlled reps. In CrossFit, it's about sustaining high effort across the whole body, lifting, jumping, running with minimal rest. Both are tough, But hypertrophy training channels that effort into growing specific muscles. CrossFit spreads it out, which is great for athleticism, but less targeted for size. Nutrition matters too. CrossFit's calorie burn is high, so without enough food, especially protein and carbs, it's easy to end up in a deficit. I experienced this myself early on, losing weight unintentionally. Once I increased my intake, I maintained my size better. Bodybuilding workouts with lower energy demand make staying in a surplus easier, key for growth. Still, CrossFit isn't useless for muscle, it just requires smart programming. Many boxes include strength work like 5x5 squats before the WOD, which builds a solid foundation when paired with good recovery. And perhaps most importantly, consistency matters. I've seen people get impressive results in CrossFit when they dial in their nutrition and stick with it. Enjoyment plays a big role. If someone dreads a bodybuilding split but loves CrossFit, they'll likely make more progress by staying consistent with what they enjoy. Personally, I've seen the best results with a hybrid approach. I hit CrossFit workouts 3 to 4 times a week for conditioning and community, and add 1 to 2 hypertrophy sessions focused on arms, shoulders, or other lagging areas. This gave me the best of both worlds: strength, stamina, and visible muscle growth. Even elite CrossFit coaches recommend adding hypertrophy work to improve performance, joint health, and aesthetics. If your priority is maximum muscle size, hypertrophy-focused training is the clear winner. CrossFit can build muscle, especially at the start, but it's not as efficient for mass because it spreads your effort across multiple fitness qualities. That said, you don't have to pick one forever. Blending both through periodization or a hybrid plan can deliver size, strength, and conditioning. The key is training with intention, fueling your body, and choosing what keeps you consistent. After years of training, I've learned you don't have to choose between hypertrophy and CrossFit. You can combine both for powerful results. If you want the muscle size of a bodybuilder and the athleticism of a CrossFitter, blending the two is a smart strategy. What worked for me was doing CrossFit a few times a week to stay lean and conditioned, while dedicating other days to focused hypertrophy training for muscle growth. For example, I'd hit CrossFit on Monday, a bodybuilding push day Tuesday, CrossFit again Wednesday, pull day Thursday, and so on. That way, I got the high-intensity, full-body work from CrossFit, but I still gave muscles like my arms or shoulders the isolation they needed to grow. I saw noticeable results. My conditioning improved, and areas that had plateaued during pure CrossFit began growing again once I brought back isolation training. Another effective approach is periodizing your year. Spending a few months in a hypertrophy phase to build mass, followed by a CrossFit-style phase to lean out and sharpen conditioning. I've done this and found it boosts endurance, recovery, and keeps training exciting. Just be careful. Doing both intensely can lead to a burnout. I had to manage recovery carefully, spacing out leg days, sleeping more, eating enough, especially when training volume was high. Mentally, mixing styles kept me consistent. Some days I craved the energy of a CrossFit class. Other days, I preferred the calm focus of lifting. Enjoying your training is key to sticking with it, and consistency builds results. Even top athletes like Matt Fraser and Chris Bumstead blend approaches. Matt added more recovery-focused training post-retirement, and Chris regularly does cardio and mobility work to stay healthy. If your goal is pure muscle size, stick mainly with hypertrophy. If you want to be fit and athletic, CrossFit is fantastic. But if you want both, a hybrid model, either split throughout the week or cycled in training blocks, can deliver the best of both worlds. The key is smart programming, listening to your body, and aligning your training with your goals. When I found that balance, I looked good, felt strong, and could move well too. If you want to learn the differences between hypertrophy and strength training, make sure to watch the next video.